This video is intended for anyone who is leading a children's or youth program in our church concerning our protection policy. Why is child abuse so grievous? Well, it can set a tragic course of sin. Listen to what the Lord Jesus says. If anyone causes one of these little ones, those who believe in me, to stumble, it would be better for them to have a large millstone hung around their neck and to be drowned in the depths of the sea. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. Such things must come, but woe to the person through whom they come. Notice the first woe. Woe to the world because of the things that cause people to stumble. When we abuse a child, we can cause that child to stumble for the rest of their lives, causing incredible damage. So how should we minister to children and youth? With shrewdness and innocence. When Jesus sent his disciples out to replicate his ministry, he says in Matthew 10, I am sending you out like sheep among wolves. Therefore, be as shrewd as snakes and innocent as doves. That is why we want to provide a safe and loving environment. And this session will help you to know the responsibilities you have as a leader to provide such an environment. In this session, we will cover what we mean by the term abuse, what it looks like to screen someone who wants to enter into your ministry, how to give proper supervision to the kids and teenagers in your program, and what to do if there actually is an allegation. First, let's talk about the abuse question itself. We need to understand that there are different types of abuse. The first one to consider is physical abuse. We're talking about any violent, non-accidental contact resulting in injury of a child. It may include striking, biting, or shaking. We must remember, however, that physical abuse doesn't always leave identifiable marks on the child's body. There may be internal injuries as a result of such an abuse. Second, there is sexual abuse, which includes inappropriate touching, whether the child is clothed or not, demands for sexual performance, sexual threats, or coercion for sexual purposes. The abuser may be an adult, a teen, or another child. And finally, we are talking about emotional abuse, which is a pattern of intentional conduct which crushes a child's or youth's spirit or attacks their worth through rejection, threats, terrorizing, isolating, or belittling. Now that we have covered what we mean by abuse, let's consider what is involved in providing proper screening for candidates to your program. The first question as a leader that you should ask is this individual a screened individual? Ask for a list from me to tell you who is screened and who is not. What happens if you see the person's name is not on that list? That means they're not screened. So what should you do now? Simply give the candidate an application and background authorization. You may give them the form electronically through an email. And the way to access that form is to simply ask me for it through an email, and I will email you the link. You want to open that link, copy the address on it, and place it in the email, but you also want to save it or to make it as a bookmark to your browser so that you can find it again when you need it. You also can have access to a paper copy of the application. This can be done by simply directing the candidate to the church office to pick up the form, or you may have a supply of the forms yourself so that you can distribute. One other thing I should just mention is that if you have a student who is working in your program, anyone under 18 years of age, there is a separate student application, again, both in the paper and electronic form. When the application is completed, if it is an electronic form, it will come directly to the church office. Otherwise, the person can mail it to the church office or hand deliver it to the office in a sealed envelope. So what happens once the application has been completed and submitted? Well, Jared or I need to decide whether that individual needs to have a background checked. There also needs to be reference checks completed, which may happen by the pastor or by yourself. If you are asked to do the reference check, you will receive a form with the name of the applicant and the references along with the contact information of the reference. When you make the phone call, you simply want to ask the questions and record the answers on the form. Then hand deliver that completed form to the church office to be placed in that candidate's file. Once the reference checks are completed, also an interview needs to be performed. Once again, it may be performed by the pastor or by you yourself. If you are conducting the interview, you will receive a copy of the application for your review. One of the questions from the application that you want to ask is about their status of being a Christ follower or not, and to have them to give further explanation to their answer. You'll also want to inquire about why they want to serve in the role and what their experience is with working with children and teens. Then also inquire, looking at their answer to the doctrinal statement, affirming whether they have read the statement and if they actually agree to abide by our doctrine. Make sure you actually keep notes of the interview, and once you've done that, then after all these steps 1 through 3 have been completed, you will then decide whether to appoint or decline the person from serving in your ministry. Now, if you have hesitancy or question whether the person is appropriate, by all means reach out to Jared or myself, whatever pastor is appropriate to your program. Now let's talk about how we properly supervise kids and teens in our program. First, make sure you have the adequate staff that is needed. There must be at least 2 persons supervising a group of children and teens, and one of those individuals must be a screened adult. A screened adult is anyone who is 18 years of age and older, those who specifically have graduated from high school and above. Now, if you're working with younger children, remember that you will need more staffing. For instance, you'll notice that 1 adult is needed for 3 babies, whereas in the older grades, it's quite different. 1 adult for 6 kids or 7 kids or 8 kids, depending on the age group. So just keep that in mind. You also want to make sure you have proper registration and attendance. You may use our Breeze database at the church, talking to Paul and myself how to do that at the check-in computer. But at any rate, whether it's your own system or a manual system, make sure that you have registration form that has the information you need, contact information from the parents, medical concerns, medical release, allergies, all of those kinds of things, emergency contact, making sure that that information is updated at least once a year. Also, you need to have an attendance process, whether again you use our check-in computer, which again you can be trained on how to do that, or you're going to do it manually with a sheet of paper so you know who is present and accounted for in your program. Make sure that your staff is adequately trained and informed of the procedures and policies of our ministry. Every volunteer must take the annual protection and security training that happens at least once a year, electronically and if not in person. Make sure you also give specific instructions pertaining to your own program so that everyone in the staff knows what they're to be doing. And then from time to time, review the protocols just to make sure that people haven't forgotten that they know what to do in case a situation arises. What about injuries? Well, if it's a life-threatening injury or a serious injury, by all means, call 911 and then contact the parent or guardian. You also should fill out an injury form and submit that to the church office. The injury accidental forms are in the closet outside of the church office, as well as accompany the first aid kits. Speaking of the first aid kits, if it's a cut or bruise, there are bandages available and other things in the first aid kits, and these kits are located in the closet outside of the office, the bathroom between room 6 and 7, room 4, the big house, and Bluefields. If you're doing an overnight event or a retreat, there must be at least 2 adults with the group of kids and an adult representing each gender in the group. Also, make sure to take the permission slips that allows you to get medical treatment for a young person if that need arises. When you think about sleeping arrangements, adults, if at all possible, should sleep separate from the kids, and there should be random checks by 2 hall monitors to make sure everything is secure and everyone is accounted for. In regard to the van, we will be putting together a training for that, and so contact that training to learn more about the van usage and safety protections. So now that we've talked about proper screening as well as the proper supervision, what happens though if there is some type of an allegation, whether it's with a staff member or with another young person in your ministry? The first thing you want to do is contact Jared or myself. We will notify the authorities, the parents, the senior pastor, as well as the elders. You need to immediately remove the accused from serving in your program or participating in your program, and with the pastor, complete the allegation abuse form for further investigation. Also, allow the senior pastor to do any kind of communication with the media as the official spokesperson or whoever else may be designated by the elder board to fulfill that role. In this training session, we have covered 4 things. We've talked about what abuse is, the screening process, proper supervision, as well as what to do when an allegation occurs. Now, in addition to this training, there will be provided for you a simple manual that provides all of this information and so much more, and it'll be valuable for you to read through it. And again, if you have any questions, reach out to me, contact me. I will assist you and help you in any way that I can. Thank you for listening. I look forward to helping you as we move forward.